Welcome to Trandy Wisdom, where every story is rooted in fascinating truth. Today, we uncover a question few tourists ever ask, yet every local understands. Why does all of Thailand stop selling alcohol on Vesak Day? Behind this national silence lies a powerful intersection of ancient teachings, modern law, and a country's deep devotion to mindfulness. 1. Vesak Day, a sacred pause in Thai society. As the sun rises over the city of Bangkok, its golden rays spill across temple spires and concrete towers alike. On any other day, the city hums with the buzz of commerce, the whirl of tuk-tuks, the chatter of street vendors. But on this morning, something has shifted. The streets are quieter, the laughter of partygoers and the clinking of glasses are absent. Convenience stores lock their liquor cabinets, bars remain shuttered, and a sense of serenity pulses beneath the urban surface. This is not a public holiday like any other. This is Visakha Bucha Day, known globally as Vesak, and in Thailand, it is observed not with fireworks or revelry, but with collective reverence. Vesak is the most sacred day in the Theravada Buddhist calendar, commemorating three profound events in the life of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. According to tradition, it was on the same full moon night of the 6th lunar month that the Buddha was born in Lumbini, attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, and passed into nirvana in Kushinagar. For over 2 millennia, Buddhists across Asia have marked this convergence with solemnity. But in Thailand, a country where over 90% of the population practices Buddhism, Vesak is not just a spiritual day, it is a national pause, a societal exhale. In the early hours of the day, Thai families rise before dawn, clad in white. They make their way to the nearest temple, or wat, carrying baskets of food, flowers, and incense. It is a day for Tom Bun, making merit through offerings to monks, prayers, and acts of generosity. Children join grandparents in rituals that have transcended generations, their palms pressed together in a Y, eyes closed in reverent stillness. The air is scented with jasmine and burning sandalwood, a gentle reminder that today is not meant for indulgence, but for reflection. Across Thailand's more than 40,000 temples, monks chant ancient Pali scriptures in melodic cadence. Devotees kneel on marble floors and dirt paths alike, seeking to cleanse the mind of greed, anger, and delusion. The three poisons of Buddhist philosophy. The ritual acts are simple but deeply symbolic, pouring water over statues of the Buddha to signify purification, releasing caged birds to represent compassion and freedom, lighting candles as metaphors for enlightenment, dispelling darkness. Unlike most religious holidays, Vesak is intentionally stripped of worldly distractions. There are no parades with brass bands, no consumer sales, no commercial spectacles. Instead, the holiday calls for silence, sobriety, and spiritual discipline. And Thailand, as a nation, responds accordingly. For this one day, the typically vibrant nightlife of Bangkok, Pattaya, or Phuket Dums, music clubs that pulse with EDM on any given night, are respectfully muted. Alcohol sales are not just discouraged, they are forbidden by law. This pause is not an inconvenience, but a commitment. This collective agreement to turn inward is visible even in the smallest gestures. At shopping malls, loudspeakers play calming Buddhist mantras. In schools, children learn the story of Prince Siddhartha, who left a life of luxury to seek wisdom beneath a fig tree. Even tourists, often unaware of the holiday's gravity, find themselves drawn into the quiet rhythm of the day, watching monks walk barefoot in morning alms rounds, their bowls filled by strangers moved by the spirit of giving. At the heart of Vesak, in Thailand, is a reverence for the sacred within the everyday. It is a holiday that collapses time, inviting modern Thais into communion with their ancestors and with a Buddha who walked the earth over 500 years ago. In the countryside, villagers gather at small temples beneath starlit skies. In cities, high-rise dwellers descend to candlelit processions. It is a rare moment when the spiritual dimension of life breaks through the noise of the material world. Perhaps more moving is the Wian Thean ceremony held in the evening. As dusk descends, thousands of Thais return to the temple. Each person carries a small candle, a stick of incense, and a lotus flower. Together, they walk slowly in a clockwise procession around the temple's main hall 3 times. Once for the Buddha, once for the Dharma, his teachings, and once for the Sangha, the monastic community. From above, the glow of their candles resembles a river of light winding around sacred architecture, a human constellation honoring the path to liberation. This reverence is not merely ceremonial. It is cultural DNA. Vesak reminds Thais of the core Buddhist ideals: mindfulness, compassion, restraint, and right conduct. In a society increasingly shaped by digital distractions, global tourism, and consumerism, Vesak serves as a spiritual recalibration. It realigns individuals with ethical values, with community, and with the natural rhythm of the moon and seasons. It whispers, "Slow down, listen, remember what matters." Yet the Thai government, recognizing this deep connection between Vesak and moral clarity, has designated it as one of 5 days each year when the sale of alcohol is legally banned nationwide. This decision is more than a policy. It is a declaration of values. It says that for at least one day, collective sobriety is more important than profit, that spiritual health is worthy of national protection, and that mindfulness can and should be legislated, if only temporarily. In many ways, Vesak in Thailand is a living paradox, a public holiday rooted in introspection, a national law promoting individual restraint, a celebration of a spiritual teacher through the silence of modern society. It is a testament to how deeply Buddhism is woven into the fabric of Thai identity, not as dogma, but as a lived ethic. And it is a reminder that reverence need not be loud to be powerful. Sometimes, the most profound statements a society can make are those said in stillness, as the full moon crests over the horizon and reflects off golden temple roofs. A hush settles across the land. The bars stay closed. The streets remain calm. And across Thailand, millions of people, from monks in forest monasteries to taxi drivers in Bangkok, take a moment to breathe deeply, bow gently, and remember a man who taught that peace is not found in the world, but in the mind. That, in itself, is why Thailand stops for Vesak. 2. The alcohol ban, law, faith, and the ethics of mindfulness. On Vesak Day, the scent of incense wafts through temple courtyards, bells echo in the air, and saffron-robed monks chant scriptures that date back over 2 millennia. Across Thailand, millions observe the day with a quiet discipline that feels sacred. But one of the most visible and perhaps most unusual aspects of this sacred day lies not in what is done, but in what is forbidden. At the stroke of midnight, alcohol sales cease nationwide. Neon-lit liquor stores turn their lights off. Bars draw down their shutters. Restaurants with full wine lists inform guests that only water, tea, or juice will be served. This is not a request. It is the law. To the uninitiated, it might seem surprising that an entire country would halt the sale of alcohol for a full day. After all, Thailand is one of Southeast Asia's most popular tourist destinations, known as much for its full moon parties and cocktail beaches as for its temples and traditions. But beneath the contrast lies a deeper cultural logic, one rooted not in control, but in conscience. The Vesak alcohol ban is not simply about abstinence. It is about alignment with ancient teachings, with national identity, and with the collective values of mindfulness and restraint. The roots of the ban begin with the fifth precept of Buddhism. Among the moral precepts observed by devout Buddhists, this one is unequivocal. I undertake the training to refrain from intoxicating drinks and drugs which lead to carelessness. The teaching is not just about physical purity, but about mental clarity. In the Buddhist worldview, the human mind is seen as the foundation of suffering and liberation alike. Any substance that clouds judgment, inflames desire, or fosters heedlessness distances the practitioner from the path to awakening. In that light, alcohol is not merely a vice, it is a barrier to liberation. While many Buddhists around the world interpret this precept as a personal commitment, Thailand, as a majority Buddhist nation, has chosen to embed it in public life through legislation. In 2009, and again more clearly in 2015, the Thai government designated 5 major Buddhist holidays as days of restricted alcohol sales. These include Makha Bucha, Visakha Bucha, Vesak, Asalha Bucha, the start of Buddhist Lent, and the end of Buddhist Lent. On these days, the law mandates a complete suspension of alcohol sales from midnight to midnight. This applies to all retail locations, from 7-Eleven convenience stores in rural villages to rooftop bars in 5-star Bangkok hotels. The logic behind the ban is as much ethical as it is spiritual. During these days, Thai society collectively chooses reflection over indulgence. The government's stance is clear. National holiness deserves national discipline, but enforcing such a policy across a modern, diverse, and highly touristic country is no small task. To make this ideal a reality, Thai police conduct nationwide inspections, store owners risk heavy fines, or even license suspension for violating these alcohol restrictions. It is one of the few days in the year when the moral compass of the law aligns so closely with the moral compass of religion. The law, however, is not rigid. It has evolved with the times and recognizes the complexity of Thailand's place in the global economy. In recent years, exceptions have been carved out, but with caution. International airports, for example, are exempt, recognizing the flow of global travelers who may be unaware of the observance. Some high-end hotels, with mostly foreign guests, are permitted to serve alcohol discreetly within private dining areas, and in designated tourism zones, such as Phuket or Pattaya, local authorities may choose to soften enforcement, especially during international events. Yet, even with these exceptions, the spirit of the ban is preserved. It is not a blanket imposition, but a measured attempt to create space for mindfulness in a consumer-driven world. What's striking is how the alcohol ban has been embraced, not just by the state, but by the public. For many Thais, Vesak is not just a religious observance. It is a time to return to what they call sabai jai, a sense of inner peace and clarity. Abstaining from alcohol on this day is seen not as a sacrifice, but as a gift one gives to the self and the community. It is a pause, a collective agreement to let the mind rest and the spirit breathe. Even those who do not consider themselves devout Buddhists often comply voluntarily out of respect for cultural tradition. The ethical dimensions of the ban reach far beyond the individual. Public health officials have pointed to a noticeable drop in alcohol-related incidents on Vesak Day. Emergency rooms report fewer accidents, Police note reduced levels of domestic violence and public disturbances. It is as though the absence of alcohol, even for a single day, allows society to recalibrate. For some, it becomes a turning point, the first time they consider the deeper implications of casual drinking or the social costs of intoxication. For others, it is simply a welcome moment of stillness in a busy calendar. Of course, the ban is not without criticism. Some business owners argue that it affects tourism revenue and infringes on personal freedom. Others see it as symbolic rather than substantive, questioning the impact of a 24-hour abstention in a country where alcohol is otherwise widely available. Yet, such critiques often miss the deeper point. The alcohol ban is not intended to solve the problem of drinking in one day. It is intended to hold a mirror to society, to remind people of the gap between consumption and consciousness, between indulgence and awareness. It also functions as a national ritual, not religious in a dogmatic sense, but in a civic one. In a time when rituals are increasingly privatized or commercialized, the alcohol ban on Vesak Day is one of the few remaining moments when a nation acts together with a sense of shared purpose. It is not about moral superiority. It is about moral coherence in a country shaped by Buddhism, where temples are not just places of worship, but of community life. The act of banning alcohol is less about punishment than about protection. Protection of time, space, and sacred rhythm. For many observers, this approach raises a fundamental question. Can morality be legislated? In the Western world, such a move might spark cries of government overreach or religious intrusion into state affairs. But in Thailand, the separation of church and state has never been drawn with such sharp lines. Here, cultural values and legal frameworks are entwined in a more fluid dance. The Vesak alcohol ban reflects this symbiosis, a model where the law does not dictate belief, but supports reflection. Indeed, it is this blend of policy and philosophy that makes the Vesak alcohol ban so compelling. It is not merely an act of enforcement. It is an invitation to remember that actions have consequences, that one can live differently, even if only for a day, that society can collectively shift its attention away from distraction and toward introspection. At the heart of it all is the Buddhist notion of mindfulness, sati, to be fully present in each moment, to act with awareness rather than impulse. In this light, the alcohol ban is not about denial, but about presence. It is not a day of restriction, but of liberation. From the habits that bind us, from the cravings that cloud us, from the noise that numbs us, as night falls on Vesak, and candlelit processions wind around temple grounds, the absence of clinking glasses becomes noticeable, but so too does the presence of something deeper: stillness, clarity, and collective intention. In these quiet hours, Thailand does not simply follow a rule. It embodies a principle that in honoring the sacred, even with the smallest acts, we protect the space for awakening. 3. Tradition in transition. Vesak, in a modernizing Thailand. As twilight descends upon Chiang Mai, the sky turns a soft lavender. Lanterns begin to rise, glowing like stars pulled toward heaven. Below, thousands gather in reverent silence, hands cupping flickering candles, lotus flowers tucked behind ears or laid at the foot of Buddha statues. It is Vesak. And though the world has changed dramatically over the centuries, this night, this ancient ritual of light and reflection, endures. And yet, across Thailand, this sacred moment now walks a delicate tightrope, one suspended between tradition and transformation, between the timeless and the contemporary. Thailand is a country often described as a place of contrasts: gilded temples nestled between shopping malls, saffron-robed monks walking past neon-lit advertisements, chants of centuries-old sutras echoing over the hum of motorbikes. Few places encapsulate the tension between old and new, quite like modern Thailand. And on Vesak, that tension becomes visible, felt not just in the streets and temples, but in law books, airport terminals, and the hearts of its citizens. At its core, Vesak is a day of stillness and inward turning. But in a country now deeply woven into the fabric of global capitalism, digital culture, and mass tourism, the challenge becomes clear. How does a nation pause when the world never stops? The rituals remain intact. Monks still receive alms at dawn. Processions still circle temple courtyards at dusk. Yet the context in which they unfold is shifting. Increasingly, Vesak must coexist with smartphones, social media, and a younger generation less tethered to tradition. In cities like Bangkok, the change is palpable. Among high-rise condos and luxury malls, young professionals wake not to the sound of temple bells, but to morning alarms synced with Google calendars. Vesak, to some, has become a day off work, an opportunity to travel, catch up on errands, or simply rest. The spiritual gravity remains, but its centrality is no longer assumed. For the older generation, this shift is both inevitable and bittersweet. Many remember a Thailand where Buddhist observance was not just a practice, but a pulse deeply embedded in everyday life. Today, that pulse still beats, but in a rhythm increasingly influenced by external forces. The tourism industry is perhaps the most visible arena where this cultural negotiation plays out. Thailand welcomes over 30 million international visitors annually, many of whom arrive with little knowledge of Buddhist holidays or their significance. On Vesak, tourists might wander into a bar expecting a drink, only to find it closed without explanation. While some respect the tradition, others react with confusion or frustration. In response, the Thai government has had to make accommodations. In recent years, certain areas have been granted exemptions from the nationwide alcohol ban on Buddhist holidays. International airports, high-end hotels, and entertainment zones, especially in cities like Phuket, Pattaya, and parts of Bangkok, may now discreetly serve alcohol to foreign guests. These adjustments aim to balance spiritual values with economic pragmatism, but such compromises also raise uncomfortable questions. At what point does accommodation become erosion? Is the spirit of Vesak compromised when bars quietly serve wine behind drawn curtains? Is it possible to protect tradition in a world increasingly defined by transaction? Monastic leaders and lay people alike grapple with these dilemmas. Some argue that Thailand's religious character must adapt to modern realities, that Buddhism, like any living tradition, should be dynamic, not static. Others caution that too much flexibility risks turning sacred observance into mere symbolism, hollowed out by convenience. They point to the commercialization of other global holidays, from Christmas to Lunar New Year, as cautionary tales. Once rich with meaning, many of these festivals have been diluted by marketing, their spiritual essence buried beneath consumer spectacle. Still, Vesak in Thailand has proven remarkably resilient. Unlike many global holidays that have become shopping bonanzas, Vesak retains its quiet dignity. There are no Vesak-themed sales at shopping malls, no garlands of flashing Buddha lights, no countdowns or party hats. The day's power lies in its simplicity, and that simplicity continues to resonate, even with the young. In recent years, a countercurrent has emerged, particularly among Thai youth, amid growing awareness of mental health, mindfulness, and sustainable living. Many young TVs are rediscovering the relevance of Buddhist principles. Vesak, with its emphasis on restraint, compassion, and clarity of mind, offers a cultural and spiritual anchor in an age of overstimulation. Some university groups organize Vesak meditation retreats. Others volunteer to distribute food or join silent processions on TikTok and Instagram. Monks now share daily teachings, snippets of Dharma wisdom, distilled for the digital age. In this way, tradition is not dying but evolving, finding new expression through new platforms. Even in Thailand's business sector, Vesak's influence persists. Some companies now offer wellness days tied to Buddhist holidays, encouraging employees to take breaks from social media or digital consumption. A growing number of cafes and restaurants use Vesak to promote sobriety, health, and conscious eating, offering herbal teas, vegetarian meals, or even discounts for those pledging to abstain from alcohol. These initiatives reflect an emerging fusion of ancient wisdom and modern values, a testament to the adaptability of Thai Buddhism. Yet, challenges remain. The country continues to face social divisions, political unrest, and economic inequality. In such a context, Vesak's teachings about unity, compassion, and mindfulness become even more vital, but also more difficult to uphold collectively. The tension between public ritual and private belief deepens. For some, the candlelit procession is a sincere act of devotion. For others, it is a cultural habit, performed without conviction. Still, the fact that people gather year after year, regardless of belief, speaks to the deep imprint Vesak has left on Thailand's national consciousness. The Thai government, for its part, continues to walk a careful line. On one hand, it seeks to preserve the country's Buddhist identity, reinforcing Vesak through education, public holidays, and legal observance. On the other, it faces pressure from economic sectors that view strict religious enforcement as outdated or inconvenient. Policy decisions, such as whether to allow alcohol sales in certain zones, become flashpoints for broader debates about identity, modernity, and morality. These that are not just policy choices, they are choices about what kind of society Thailand wishes to be. In the rural heartlands, far from the glittering city lights, Vesak remains largely untouched. Here, life moves more slowly. The temple is still the center of community life. Elders pass down rituals to the young not in classrooms, but around shared meals and temple grounds. For many villagers, Vesak is not something to be adapted, but something to be lived. A reminder that despite all the noise of modern life, the path to peace remains the same: generosity, ethical conduct, mental discipline. And so, Thailand stands at a crossroads, not of crisis, but of continuity. The question is not whether Vesak will survive modernization, but how it will transform through it. The beauty of Thai Buddhism, and perhaps its greatest strength, lies in its elasticity. It bends without breaking. It welcomes change while honoring essence. As the full moon of Vesak ascends each year, casting its silver glow across city towers and rice paddies alike, a quiet truth reveals itself. Tradition is not static. It breathes, it evolves, and in Thailand, Vesak continues to serve as a bridge, connecting past and present, rural and urban, sacred and secular, even as modernity marches on. This one night invites a nation to remember who it is, not just in belief, but in being. A night where ancient chants rise above digital din, where candles outshine neon lights, where, for a moment, Thailand pauses, not because it must, but because it chooses to. And so, as the full moon rises and temples glow with candlelight, Thailand reminds the world that sacred days still matter. The alcohol ban on Vesak Day isn't just a legal rule. It's a national gesture of reverence, a collective pause for reflection. In a time when many societies rush through rituals, Thailand chooses stillness. It chooses clarity. It chooses to honor the timeless wisdom of the Buddha, not just in temples, but in the way a nation lives, breathes, and remembers what truly matters.